Assemble! Stay dandy, baby. Mecha and furry fans rejoice because Gundam Build Divers Re has returned for the second half of its season. And guess what? They give us a big ol' steaming pile of recap episode. This is going to be a very short review as I'm not really a big fan of recap episodes. I mostly find them completely unnecessary. If it's a long-running series, maybe it's a necessity, but for a series like this that's only been on break for about 4 months, I just really don't feel like it's all that needed. However, this was at least a somewhat mildly enjoyable recap episode, as it wasn't just a bunch of clips cobbled together into a single episode. We actually get to sort of go back in time and get to learn the backstory of how Freddy met the Build Divers for the first time, how he found some sort of ancient book which led them to these ruins which allowed him to communicate with these Gunpla battlers, and that is kind of interesting. Really, my favorite part about the entire episode was the brand new intro, which basically just reassures us that we're going to see a lot more action this season. We're going to see a ton of brand new Gunpla. It already looks like Hiroto is going to have a brand new version of the core Gundam with all types of brand new upgrades, and of course the crazy implications behind the mysterious characters such as May and Eve and Sarah, how all of these characters are going to be connected in some senses. There's a lot of interesting imagery in the opening, which I really love, and if anything, you get to see an amazing joke where when Freddy actually discovers these ruins and actually sees the images and visions of the Build Divers for the very first time, he sees Patrick Kolasar first, and he claims that he could very well be the creator. At least that's worth a laugh or two. One thing I didn't like about the episode, though, is how they're hilariously trying to remind us that the first season of Gundam Build Divers existed. Basically, Freddy is just watching a lot of clips from the original season and some of the major moments from the last season, the sequel series. And isn't it just adorable? They really want us to care about the first season of Gundam Build Divers. I was kind of hoping they would just sort of try to ignore that stuff as much as possible and try to focus a little bit more on the newer characters. But it looks like the past is going to be coming back to haunt Gundam Build Divers Re in the future. Whether it's going to be entertaining or interesting remains to be seen, but my stance and my belief that the very first season of Gundam Build Divers sucks still holds firm. I just didn't like it, and I especially didn't like those characters, and I do not want to see the return of anyone like Riku and any of his friends, as they are just way too one-dimensional, and Riku still stands as probably my least favorite Gundam pilot, if you even want to call him a Gundam pilot at this point. But it is kind of an interesting episode, like I said, just sort of like showing us how Freddy discovered these characters, how he witnessed the creators, the Build Divers, and we even get to see like the aftermath of the destruction at the end of the last season of Saguri, getting to see how everybody's sort of like, picking themselves up from all of the damage, and even Freddy gets to communicate with Jed, who's a frigging Force Ghost in this episode. Yeah, that's kind of weird. The episode does end with a lot of hope, showing that Freddy is able to communicate with Hiroto and his team yet again. There's even a really weird moment where he has a vision of watching him battle in space, which is really funny, just watching him sort of fanboy or fan dog out. I don't know, whatever you want to call it. The point is, this entire episode is just sort of getting everybody back up to speed, also sort of showing us some of the events that we never got to saw, and sort of building up the next season. So, it was okay. So, what's the rundown on this episode of Gundam Build Divers? My thoughts remain the same. This is just a recap episode, but as far as recap episodes go, I've seen a lot worse. This could have been terrible. I will say that my hype levels were sort of diminished a little bit. I was really excited for the return of this. It's not like this is the best Gundam anime at all, far from it, but Build Divers Re was definitely sort of like building a lot better on the first season and doing a much better job of that in terms of its characters and even some of its mecha and its action scenes. And I was really anxious for this season, and to be given a recap episode at the very beginning, I have to say sort of really, cut my sail, so to speak. Like, it didn't work, and it sort of like made me go, oh, well, I guess now I'm going to have to wait another week to actually see any sort of development. As far as that goes, though, I think this is still going to be a really good year for the Gundam anime franchise. I'm really, really hyped to see Hathaway's Flash, which is going to be coming at the very end of this year, which is going to be a movie, I believe, maybe even a movie trilogy. It's a storyline that I know very little about, but it's set within the original Universal Century and has to deal with Bright Noah's son, and is going to be sort of like some of the aftermath of Char's counterattack, and that's something that I'm very excited to see, and the previews have looked just amazing and fantastic. I'm once they finish up with Re-Rise, I think I'm kind of done with Build Divers, or like, the Build Fighters sort of series. I want them to move on to a more traditional Gundam at this point. I really loved Iron-Blooded Orphans. I'd like to see them do something like in that vein again, like, a brand new alternate universe with a really cool war story, or maybe even go back to the Universal Century, or even better yet, do a complete remake of the original series. They've released a lot of original content showing off how that could potentially look over the course of the last couple months with some promotional videos, and man, that shit looks sexy. I'm really loving that. But this episode right here, like I said, it's a recap, but I've seen way worse recap, but I'm still gonna give this episode a 2 out of 5. It just, you can skip it entirely and you're not going to miss anything, because you can watch the next one and I guarantee they're just going to recap some of those major events at the end where Freddy meets them again. So again, you're not going to be out of the loop. So yeah, that's my thoughts on this one. I'd love to get yours. Did you watch this episode? Are you excited for the next half of Gundam Build Divers Re-Rise? What do you hope to see from the second season as far as the character development goes, brand new mecha, and the storyline? Let's discuss all of it in the comment section below. Thank you all for watching this video, and make sure to subscribe to this channel for more video reviews just like this one. Make sure to use your Gunpla to hit that like button. It's super easy to do and it helps these videos out a lot. If you want to go the extra mile in helping out these videos, please check out my Patreon account. There will be a link for that in the description box below. If you make a donation, even a $1 donation, I will review an anime series of your choice. So please make sure to check that out. Thank you all again for watching this video. I'll see you all next time, and as always, stay down there, baby.